So this past week, SAG-AFTRA issued a statement to encourage members to promote and audition for approved interim agreement productions as a means of strengthening the union's bargaining positions and demonstrating solidarity. The Guild statement provides guidance in regards to the matter of promoting a project with an interim agreement, which has been a matter of contention among the SAG-AFTRA members since the strike began back in July. Now, stars such as Sarah Silverman and Viola Davis have publicly questioned whether SAG-AFTRA members' work under those circumstances would even be appropriate in this matter. Now, for projects to obtain an interim agreement for the Guild, a producer must operate independently from the companies belonging to the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers and agree to the terms proposed by SAG-AFTRA in its negotiations with the AMPTP. Now, the release comes as the film industry prepares for the fall festival season, with events in Venice, Trilide, and Toronto kicking off over the next few weeks. Now, film festivals represent major launching pads for projects seeking distribution or looking to make a splash in the awards race. The matter of SAG-AFTRA members being allowed to promote in Toronto, Telluride, and Venice has a major question mark since the strike has began, and the Guild's new statement represents a push that would leave some level of talent being on the grounds at festivals, provided that their productions have been obtained by those interim agreements that we've been talking about.
So this is tricky for me because, first of all, I think this move, I don't buy, like at the top of the statement, saying that it was for solidarity to show strength in their negotiating abilities or whatever. I think this is because they've got festivals coming up and they want stars on the red carpet because those festivals won't do anything without the stars there. So that's what I really think it's about. But then I'm also, how is this going to go down? Because we know, no doubt, at these festivals, there's probably a bunch of independent films that have SAG actors in them that are looking for distribution deals, right? That's where you normally get the deals from the studios. That's where they go into bidding wars and buy these films and everything. What I'm confused about, though, is how many of those are actually not associated already, because they wouldn't have had interim agreements when these films were made, right? Because there wasn't a strike going on. So they're saying they have to be a part of this interim agreement thing, but these films were shot prior to that. So is that a little hiccup? Is that, like, how do you get around the stars promoting something that isn't under the interim agreement? And I mean, it's all kinds of shady to me. I just think it's like, hey, we are on strike, but we want you to go out there and do this. And we kind of want you to, you're either on strike or you're not. Right. And if the studios are not in a contract deal with anybody, right, then how are they going to buy these movies? How are they bidding on these movies? Right. You're going to bid on a movie that your stars can't promote? Well, I mean, it just doesn't make sense to me. I feel like this was just a rushed decision, right? I mean, What do you think?
Yeah, so it's been very interesting because I feel like they are getting a lot of blowback now from actors who, have been speaking out for SAG-AFTRA ever since the strike has begun. Yeah. And I feel like now, with it being so back and forth with not only the writers and the actors, it's just become one of these things where, okay, are you guys actually fighting for us, or are you dragging this out longer than it needs to be? So that's the real question in my eyes, to see, where are bargaining chips and how are they being placed? Is like $100 going on Red 21, or how are we doing this? So I feel like, even a lot of actors are coming out now and they're like, okay, we're ready for this to be over so we can get back to work and start promoting things. So it's a very interesting thing, man. It's definitely something that it develops every single week. So that's why we have to keep talking about it. But yeah, I just, they keep saying there's light at the end of the tunnel, but every time they say that, a couple days later, that light goes further and further away.
Oh, so without doubt.
That's the thing I'm reckoning with in my brain.
Without doubt. And what you just said, maybe the tiniest of little factions within SAG-AFTRA, the studios are paying attention to that, and they're trying to get that with the WGA. So let me kind of explain what happened this week with the WGA, because remember, SAG-AFTRA can't even be at the table because the WGA is currently at the table back negotiating. So the Writers Guild of America told members this week that the latest offer from the studios is not yet good enough, and said that it would continue to fight to address existential threats to the writing profession. So if you guys aren't familiar, and then I'm going to go a little bit further into this, the CEOs, not AMTP, the CEOs, and I'm talking about the big boys, Iger and Sarandos and Zaslav, and they want this shit done. So they basically told the AMPTP, we're getting a little frustrated that you guys cannot get this done. Let's have a meeting. So they had a meeting with the AMPTP representatives. They kind of said, let's make some concessions. Let's show them we're willing to negotiate a little bit. Apparently that happened. They came up with a new proposal, and they really felt like this was going to happen. This would show that they're willing to compromise. So in an email, the WGA picked out half a dozen areas where it believes the studios still fell short. The Guild noted that the studios are willing to enshrine the concept of a TV staff size in the contract for the first time ever. But the loopholes, limitations, and omissions in their modest proposal, too numerous to single out, make them effectively toothless, the Guild said. The Guild also said that the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers offered to make streaming viewership data available only to a half dozen WGA staffers. What? Why would you not show it to everybody? Right. The data could then be used by the Guild to craft a proposal for a viewership-based residual in 3 years. Not right away, in 3 years. Again, doesn't make sense. The AMPTP released its proposals shortly after a meeting with several studio CEOs and WGA leadership at the Lux Sunset Boulevard Hotel. Why did they do that? Because, as I just told you, the WGA said no. So they released it, and the WGA thinks they released the proposal to try to cause that friction between members like they're seeing in SAG-AFTRA. Maybe if they showed that they're willing to do some stuff, that there would be some WGA members that would agree, hey, they're trying, can we get this shit done? We're ready to get back to work. But apparently it backfired because the union came out even more in strength of, you're right, if it's not everything we're asking for, we're not good. So as I said, they did release the proposal shortly after the meeting. And at that meeting, like I said, Bob Iger of Disney, David Zaslav of Warner Brothers, they communicated to the Guild, it's been 115 days, we need to get this done, we're well over it. Now, by releasing the terms of the latest offer, the AMPTP is seeking to put pressure on the Guild leadership by demonstrating both to writers and the broader entertainment community that it is trying to make concessions and that the WGA is the bad guy. I'm not buying it. Like you are, okay, we see that, but is it really a concession? Because there's stipulations to it. Okay, we'll give you the streaming data in 3 years. We'll guarantee the size of a writer's room, but only 2 people. We're gonna, like, there were stipulations attached to all of their concessions. So are they really concessions if that's the case? I feel like this was just a move to try to make themselves look like the good guys and try to put the pressure on both guilds to get this shit done. And apparently it's not. And as you guys have seen, things are being pushed back. Things are being pushed back. And from everything that we know, you guys are pretty familiar with this. The industry basically, Hollywood shuts down after Thanksgiving. They take this big long break before award season and everything. So if this shit isn't wrapped up within the next couple of weeks going into September, that doesn't leave a very big gap to try to get it done before Hollywood shuts down anyway. So you could start to see things now that were supposed to be coming out, not just this year, but all of next year being pushed back and having to be readjusted. So that's where they're at. And the studios, I know, are freaking the fuck out because they don't want to have no content for a whole year. That is not good news for anybody. So I don't know, man. It's like, but I'm not seeing an end to it because they're just not willing to give everybody what they want. And it seems to me like both the unions are very adamant about everything or nothing.
Yeah, it's very crazy because I feel like you said, it's either all or nothing, and everybody just keeps going back and forth. Like there'll be some optimism, and then there won't be. It'll be like completely far to the other side. So it's very interesting to see how this thing keeps developing. Like, because I mean, we have friends in the entertainment industry. With us being in the entertainment industry ourselves, we have our ear on the ground, and we listen to a lot of people coming out with a lot of different numbers and a lot of different examples of these type of talks and negotiations. And it just, it every other day I feel like we are getting told different things, whether that be from the media or whether that be from our friends in the industry or what have you. I just feel like, it's hard to try to keep up with everything because it changes so frequently. So that's very terrifying. For Disney Channel specifically, I saw this report come out about how they would only, for writers, they would get residuals after like 3 seasons, right?
Yeah.
And then basically they reboot the show after those 3 seasons so that the writers weren't guaranteed those residuals. They would bring them back for the new show, but in their contract, it would say you can't get the residuals until after the 3rd season.
Right.
For example, like The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, and then The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody on Deck. So like it's technically 2 different shows.
Yeah.
But they added that new title and rebranded it so that made it a new show.
Yep.
To where they're bringing back all these same people, but in the writers' contracts, and I'm betting in the actors' contracts as well, things get shifted around to where they don't have to get paid those residuals. So I mean, new stuff comes out every single day, like I said. So it's fascinating but terrifying at the same time.
I will say I'm going to give the studios credit on one thing that they proposed, and I think it was a good thing, and I hope that it stays in whenever they come to an agreement. They did say that they were going to institute a program, a training program for writers to be taught how to become showrunners. So if you're just a staff writer, you're in the room, you happen to be one of those people, they're going to have a program that's going to allow you to go through it and basically graduate and be able to become a showrunner and not just throwing a blind writer in and say, okay, it was your idea, so you're the showrunner, and they have no clue what they're doing, right? I like that idea. I think anytime that they can implement those type programs, those training programs to get you up to speed, that's a good thing. So I just wanted to give a shout out to that because that was one good thing in their proposal that I thought made sense. And I'm sorry. To what you said about our friends, we have them guys on both sides. So we have friends who are saying, I'm ready to just give in and I want to get back to work. I'm willing to concede some of these things to get it done. And we have other people on both the writing and the acting side that are like, no way, it's all or nothing. So even in our group of friends, there's those 2 points of view. And I get it. It's frustrating. And I feel like no matter what side you come down on, it's starting to get frustrating. So, yeah. I don't know, man.
Yeah,
I guess we'll see.
It's one of those things. Like I said, it changes every single day, but we're going to stay on top of it and keep bringing you guys the latest news. But it's absolutely wild.